Before I let you go on to lesson one, we need to talk a little bit about students' tendency to grind their exercises. As we talked about before, when you go into lesson one, you'll see that these exercises have specific assigned numbers of pages. 1 page, 2 pages. It's a very limited amount because, as I mentioned before, we're focusing on building a body of work that allows someone else to come in and identify what you understand and what you don't. It's not about building perfection. The problem is that when students actually do that work, they have these expectations and standards for themselves that they don't meet. And so when they see that, oh, I'm not nearly as impressive as I thought I would be, this isn't as easy as I expected it to be, they tend to get frustrated with what they've accomplished or failed to accomplish. And they think, no, 2 pages, that was just a minimum. I'm going to go do more and more and more and more. And their focus is on achieving mastery. And while mastery is all well and good, it's an extremely inefficient way to approach things. So, like I said, it's not an efficient use of your time. It causes you to work in a bubble because now you're just focused on pleasing your own standards. And so you don't go and share your work with other people in the community who can give you useful feedback. And you just focus on attacking the problem from one angle alone. And now it's a lot like when you are fighting someone, I guess. If they've got a big shield and you keep hammering them in the front, maybe your initial attack will be able to make good headway, maybe it'll make some damage, but by the time that they've gotten used to the fact that you keep coming in from the front, your attacks start losing their power, losing their effectiveness, and ultimately they're now used to you, they know how you function, and so you have to change it up. And that's what we do throughout all of Drawabox. We don't just tackle problems from one angle. We have all of these exercises which touch on the same concepts in different ways. And so while our first exercise may focus very much on drawing confidently, that will still be an aspect of other exercises while we're looking at other concepts as well. And so by balancing it out this way and by going from different angles, you're able to take your brain and you can attack it from from more angles and get around its natural defenses, because your brain doesn't want to learn. Your brain's stubborn. It wants to stay in its, in the things that are familiar to it. And so these new skills, we have to kind of stab them through and get past its defenses. Anyway, this analogy is run a little bit long. So the thing about grinding, though, is that there are some cases where I have found that certain limited kinds of grinding can be helpful. But I'm hesitant to tell students to go and find their own grinding that works. The stuff that I'm talking about are things like the 250 box challenge. Oh, whoops. The various challenges that I've put out there, and they have certain quantities of work that is set out for you, and they are clearly stated how many you have to do. There is a finish line. You're not just doing it arbitrarily. And based on the thousands of students that I've critiqued and that I've worked with and that I've basically used as guinea pigs, I have found that things like dropping in the 250 box challenge before we get into lesson 2 and onwards, it helps kind of kick the student into high gear, into moving from just thinking about lines on a flat page into thinking about how these forms can be rotated in space. And, we're not working on getting that perfect, but we want to get enough of an understanding of that to be able to move forwards. And so that's why there are certain points where I get into a limited form of grinding. Yes, it is a little bit contradictory, but, there's a reason for it. And I've done a lot of data gathering using my poor past students as guinea pigs to do that. So the last thing that we need to talk about is the fact that we don't leave those exercises alone after the first time we've tackled them. Those first 2 pages that you do for an exercise, that's not all you need. It's just that we don't want to do it all at the same time. As you progress through the lessons, every single session, every drawing session that you do should start with warm-ups. And your warm-ups come from the exercises that you've explored previously, the ones that you've been exposed to. And we introduce exercises in lesson 1, the box challenge, 2, 3, etc. And so there's always a new addition to this pool of exercises that you have. And so what I want you to do is for 10 to 15 minutes at the beginning of your session, you should be doing 2 to 3 exercises that you've learned. And so that's not the same 2 or 3 exercises every time. It's picking 2 or 3 new ones that you haven't done in a while, and you want to keep doing them so that you keep from getting rusty, that you keep sharpening your skills. Because as I said, when you're done those initial 2 pages, you're not going to be perfect at them. You're going to be very far from that. And so this is how we keep getting more and more practice in. So don't forget to do warm-ups. They will help you keep those important concepts in mind, and they'll help keep you getting better. That's about it. So there is probably another page left in this lesson about the tools that we use, and once you're done that, you'll be free to move on to lesson 1.